Hey everyone, I'm Chris. I'm with I.D.E.A Cleveland.
And my name is Doyle, or Annie, with AHD Communications, and I work on not only your communications, but how to speak.
Awesome. So, I get a lot of people that are terrified to be on video. How can we help them today?
You know what? Honestly, so Chris, I'm part of that 1% of the population that loves to speak on, like, anywhere, right? And I never realized, so growing up, I was always talking, and I was born talking to a wall, right? I thought that was normal. And I suddenly realized it's not. And then when I heard, I will never, when you get numbers in your head and all of a sudden you're like, huh. And now remember, I'm not a numbers person, I'm a communications person. But numbers of 1% of the population, let's think how big the world is, right? 1% actually likes to speak.
That's crazy.
In front of people.
Yeah.
There's actually a disorder sometimes too where people are afraid to speak in public because they get in their head so much that they've even classified it as one of the phobias.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, we talk everywhere, right? And I think one of my big missions in life is really to redefine what public speaking is, because that's all it is. Whether you're on camera, whether you are in front of people, or even doing a podcasting or Zoom, we got to give COVID credit, because COVID's actually, even though there's a lot behind it, we've seen so much in the form of communications come out of that. And the world is getting much smaller, right? And now all of a sudden, where you would have to go in person, you can actually go in Zoom. So now the population you can reach is much larger. So I always tell people that we're not in just a small part of our community we work in. We're on a global stage now. And that's not to get people worried about, oh my gosh, now let's start talking, I'm on global, but we're really looking at communications is everywhere. So when you are afraid or you have anxiety about getting up and talking in front of people, whether you're on camera or you're in front of people, there's a few things that you can do to really make life a little easier for yourself.
That sounds awesome. I mean, people go on Zoom calls. I mean, a lot of the people that are going to watch this are business owners. Mm-hmm. They have to be able to communicate to be able to, build their business.
Being able to communicate effectively is probably, especially as a business owner. I mean, let's think about it. You start your business and you're working the grind and you're making sure that you're out there, right? That's your genius zone. You can talk about that till the cows come home. But the minute you have to get up in front of people, that's where things start kind of derailing, right? Because it might not be what your genius zone is, right?
Mm-hmm. That
doesn't mean you can't get up and talk in front of people. What it means is you just have to practice. Think about it. When we were in primary school and everything, we didn't know how to spell or how to do math problems, right? Spelling, right? That's awesome. But at the same time, you practiced and you learned. And that's the same thing that we have to do here. And we also have to remember, growing up, it blows my mind, because growing up, we've always been told as a child, you're to be seen and not heard, right? You're to be seen and not heard. So we're kind of thinking, okay, I should not be talking. Don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. Then now all of a sudden the script flips when you get to high school, college, and then the real world, and they say, why aren't you talking? And you look at it like, well, wait a minute. I have been told for so long to be seen and not heard, and now I have to get up and talk. So there's a lot of disconnect there that we have to start working through. So again, understanding, how do you do that? So one of the first things you need to really do is stop self-sabotaging yourself. If you're being asked to speak, you've got a message, you've got information that people want to hear. You're that expert. So understand that it's not about you, it's about your audience, believe it or not. So we've got to get out of our own head when we start thinking, crap, I'm going to be judged, I'm going to be laughed off, my hair isn't right, I got to do this, that, blah. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. I've got big hair, I wear big jewelry, I've got a big personality. I don't care. That's me. So you are that person they want to see. You have been asked to do something. And so don't see it as a punishment. See it as something that it's an opportunity, especially as a business owner. This gives you the opportunity to get your business and your message out there. And if you need help with that, get a good hire me or, get somebody that's in your business that's a good marketing communications person, and they can help you walk you through it. And understand you're not alone. There's always ways to, practice and prep. And the hardest part is really the work before you get on.
Yeah.
And not when you're on the stage.
Yes.
I'm going to say that in air quotes because the stage can be many things.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. I hosted the Chamber Awards banquet like last year. And I was so nervous. And my wife goes, no one pays attention at those things. Don't overstress. And then I had a few drinks, and then I was like, you know what? She's kind of right.
Yeah, the liquid courage helps.
Like, liquid courage did help, but I'm like, people don't really pay attention that much.
No.
They're there, they're mingling at their table, they're having their food, their drinks, and we're just background noise, basically.
Well, and you have to remember, too, a lot of where the fear and anxiety is, now I'm talking fear and anxiety as a non-medical, right? There is some medical, I'm not going to get into that, but just fear and anxiety in general, right? There is that fear and anxiety of judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you have to remember, we still are quote unquote animals in the hierarchy of the animal kingdom, right? And communication wise, we have actually been communicating since day one of, caveman times. And when we were, especially back then, it was all instinctual, right? And when you were in a group, you were safe. When you were outside of that group, that's when the danger happened, right?
Yeah.
So believe it or not, this is my nerd zone coming out, okay? So bear with me. Believe it or not, no matter how far removed we are from that point in history to now, we still have those instincts in us. And so when we are standing up in front of a crowd outside of a group, that's where a lot of fear and anxiety happens because that protection is gone. And a lot of people look at it like, well, no, I don't believe that. But no, that's instinctually, that is what's going on with you because fear and anxiety are instincts. Fear and anxiety are your fight or flight. Fear and anxiety are really the things that are protecting you. So when you start thinking about, oh gosh, I got to get up and I don't want to look like an idiot, all of a sudden your instincts are coming in to protect you and making sure you're okay. So one of the biggest things you need to start doing is realize you belong there. You do not have to have that fear of you don't belong there because you were asked to be up there for a reason. So be up there. You are that expert. You have something to say. And just because you might not feel you're as eloquent or you might not think you deserve to be there, yes, you do. Whether you believe it or not, you need to keep repeating that to yourself because the more you repeat that to yourself, the more confident you're going to be. And practice. I can tell you the first time I spoke on a microphone, it was for a 500-person fundraiser. I had no idea what my voice sounded like. And all of a sudden, I'm about 24, 25 at that time. So about a year ago, right? But I'm talking on this microphone and I'm like, wait a minute. There's that shock of, is that really what my voice sounds like? I don't know what's going on. So, practice with a microphone if you know that you're going to be on a microphone. See if you can see the space. A lot of things you can do before you jump on is really going to help you. And breathe. Remember to breathe. A lot of times we get ourselves so worked up that we don't want to sound dumb. We don't want to look like an idiot. We don't want to do a lot of things that all of a sudden we forget to breathe. We all of a sudden become really anxious. We start moving around. We start, fiddling with things. Remember, you belong there. And keep repeating that to yourself. I belong here. And sometimes it's fun because you've got someone like you, who I get to just talk to because it could be conversations. And get it out of your head that you're being judged because it's not about you. It's about your audience. You already know what you're talking about. It's your audience that's going to be affected by it.
Yeah, that's great. All right, what else do you have on your list?
What else we got? Okay, I'm a list person, so I always have to make sure I have a list. So whenever you go up, remember, you don't have to memorize everything. So when you think and start thinking about your delivery, understand and ask the questions, what space am I going to be in? Am I going to be in a studio like this? Am I going to be up in front of a live audience? Am I going to be on Zoom? Where are you going to be? Know your area. And if you have the opportunity, especially if it's a physical space that you cannot or you've never been in, then go there. see if you can get in. If you're going to be on a microphone and you've never been on a microphone before, talk on a microphone and see if you can be on that space. Ask the questions. Getting to know the event coordinators are amazing because no matter if it's a small meeting or a very large event, you always want to make sure that you're understanding the space you're going to be in. So especially if they're coming, like some of your clients coming in and they have to sit here, right? You've got podcasts that you've already done. I would say look at those podcasts and see how you're going through that. And say, okay, well, he's very much interaction based. It's a conversation. Get there early and really acclimate yourself to what you're doing, right? If you need to have some coffee or water, most of the time it's fine because you need to make sure that, you're staying hydrated because a dry throat's never good. But also, when you are up talking, whether you are being recorded, whether you're on podcasting, on Zoom, or live, whatever you need, speaking aids are amazing. I always try and make sure, especially if I'm on stage, I always have either note cards or if I know there's going to be an opportunity for a teleprompter, I always submit teleprompter stuff so that way it kind of helps me. But also make sure, if you need your glasses to read it, make sure they put it in large font. But make sure, too, when you're writing things out, note cards are amazing. Note cards are amazing. I wouldn't necessarily take your phone and start, putting things on your phone because, there is stereotypes still if you're on your phone that's, bad, right? But, you've got technology to help you really find out what you have access to and really see what you're able to use. Note cards are amazing. Just make sure note cards, no one else is seeing it but you. Write rather large because when you're up in front where you've got lights and you've got other people, your brain kind of needs things that are larger font. So write larger on your note cards and number them. So in case you drop them, because I'm the biggest klutz in the world. So, but number them, use highlighters, do what you need to do to make yourself comfortable and practice your speech. Don't just wing it. I think one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life is someone coming in and saying, I'm just going to wing it.
Yes.
That makes me nervous because you never know the questions. You want to be ready for questions. You want to be ready for everything. And I know it sounds so overwhelming when I say it, but there's a step-by-step process that if you continually do this and breathe in and out, and before you go on, take a few deep breaths. It's okay. It's okay to kind of close your eyes and you're fine. Also, you never mess up. Speech is wonderful. You never mess up. Did you know that?
I never mess up. Okay.
You never mess up when you're speaking.
I make up words at times. That's kind of messing up.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
But that's okay. Because here's the best part about speech. Nobody knows.
That's true.
You don't have a write out.
And people, you just burn right through. People just move on. They don't think about it. Yes. Now, when you're talking about notes, though, I want to go back to this.
Okay.
You get people, you'll do different videos. And I think when you're doing a podcast, something like this, don't write a script.
No.
You need bullet points.
Bullet
and
points
things
are amazing.
that keep you on point so you don't get off track. So you're not wandering all over the place in your mind. That's why you can't wing something.
Exactly.
Because you're all over the place.
So there are a lot of different types of delivery. We call it delivery. Okay. There's a lot of different types of delivering a speech. And when I say know your area, also know the kind of speech that you're going to be giving, right? So when you say reading off or whatnot, that's when you read off a script, that is called manuscript speeches. You're going to see a lot of politicians doing that. You're going to see a lot of...
But they have the cheating teleprompters up here that makes it look like they're making eye contact.
Exactly.
They're ignoring you.
Yeah, I know. I hate to tell you.
They're not even looking at the crowd.
We shouldn't call this stage fright. We should call it the secrets behind the stage, right? But
they made fun of Obama for that a lot. He's always reading off a prompter. I'm like, well
honestly,
keeps them on track.
Honestly, look at every president that we've had, right? And whenever they do the address to the nation, stuff like that, they're always reading something. And that's not wrong, but there's a method to that madness for that too. Because deep down, every time you get up and you talk, it's always got to sound like you're human. Because if you sound like you're a robot, no one's going to listen to you and they're going to get bored. So you want to, and that's where there's so much different stuff that goes into things. But right now we're gonna hit the highlights for you. Understand, so extemporaneous is really what we're going to be talking about for the type of delivery, and that's really no cards.
Yeah, okay.
That's really no cards. Don't feel like you've got to memorize anything. Oh, dear Lord God, don't feel like you got to memorize everything. I want to do a TEDx talk. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm putting it out there in the world, right? TEDx, you have to memorize your speech. But a lot of times people going to TEDx have done speeches before. So when you go to the memorization stage, you understand how you are as a presenter. When you're first starting out, especially if you're someone that you have not had a lot of experience in front of talking to, I always say one-to-one or one-to-many, because that's really what public speaking is. We're public speaking right now. But when you're first starting out, have note cards and don't think you've got to memorize it. And don't call out when you've made a mistake. Oh, dear Lord God, don't do that.
Unless you totally screw up a year.
Oh, yeah.
Or a date or a fact.
Yeah, that I would put on a note card.
Yeah. Exactly.
That I would definitely put on a note card. You always want to make sure to, a lot of people try and use big language because they want to sound really super smart.
Which a lot of people don't understand. Like, I went to school and you were communication. They tell you at like a 6th grade level is what you should be writing with, like for newspapers and videos and all. A 6th grade level. It's got to be simple. But people overcomplicate it.
Yeah, and I always like to say it's the KISS method, right? And I'm always positive, okay? Remember, confidence is huge for me. So a lot of times it's keep it simple, sassy.
Oh, sassy.
Not stupid. No one's ever stupid. and the reason why I say that is because we like to use self-deprecating language all the time. And we laugh about it, which is fine. But at the same time, how's that building you confidence? How's that building you up? It's not. What it is you're basically tearing yourself down before you even get started. So really understand that what's going to make you successful is you. You are amazing. You've got a message, and that message is something we have to hear. You wouldn't have been asked to talk if we didn't want to hear you. So understand, you're there. We want to listen to it. And so if you need something, like I have a notebook that I'm a big notebook person. I love it. And I always have a notebook. And what I do too is I write very large, and I write in a different color. It's not black. It's not black ink. I always either write in blue or a lighter color that I can see, because again, that's how my brain works. And if I'm at a larger event or something else where I know I'm going to be on for an hour or more, I will have note cards and I highlight things in such a way. Okay. So my method to my madness is looking at, okay, when I get to a pink bullet point, this is where I stop and we ask questions. So I've created my own method so it works for me. It works for me in how I'm standing and how I'm moving, and it's okay to move, by the way. That's the other thing sometimes people think is when they are on camera or when they are on, a stage, or even, and when I say stage, I don't mean a complete stage. It can be a full stage, but it can also just be in front of coworkers, or it can be on Zoom. But people feel they have to just stand up straight and don't move. Again, we're human. We want to see you be human. So when you do this, don't sit here and be like this and reading, right? Use your notes, but always look up and have eye contact. If you feel you have to move, I'm always using my hands. I like to move. And here's a quick tip. If you're standing, don't lock your knees. If you lock your knees, you know what's going to happen? You lock your knees.
I don't know.
Have you
I don't think I lock my knees ever.
Okay. If you
like I'm always swaying.
Well, if you lock your knees for too long, you actually pass out.
That could be entertaining.
Don't do that. And now everyone's going to be like, don't lock my knees.
Don't lock my knees.
So they're all going to be like wall squatting and being like, I'm not locking my knees. But that's okay. And if you do lock your knees and you happen to pass out, that's a great story for later. Who cares? But I can tell you, I've actually tripped going up stages, believe it or not.
And then you act like you're jogging.
And it's like, I meant to do that, So it's just funny, remember, we're human. It's life.
Yes.
And talking is a natural process. And what you do, and also remember to know your audience. Your audience is huge. When you're looking at talking in front of an audience, are they your peers? Are they people who have no idea what you're doing?
That's a great thing because you can't speak jargon, the people that don't know
Correct.
the jargon. Every time I talk to my kids' teachers, they have these acronyms for everything, and I have no clue what they even mean because I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I'm an intelligent human being, but I can't read your mind.
Yeah.
Listen, if I could read your mind, I wouldn't be here right now. I don't an island or something. I'm living off life. But, here's the thing. Whenever going into speaking, the bigger the audience, understand you might not have as many peers. You might, who knows? But always assume not everyone's going to know what you're talking about. And there is a way to do that in such a way that you can define things without making people feel like an idiot. Because remember, you have a genius zone. Again, we're going back to you have a genius zone. You are in that genius zone. And I always say, whenever I get in mine, I'm like, I'm nerding out right now. This is amazing. But you're going to find your cadence. You're going to find what works for you. And I would always make sure that the vernacular that you're using not only includes people that are your peers, but also you're using vernacular that you can also easily define without making someone feel like an idiot. Because you want to make sure the entire audience is following you. So what do they need to know as they go? And the more you speak, the better you're going to be. You don't have to do a lot of times when I tell people to prep work, it's the same as starting a new sport. It's the same as starting a new technique of something. There's that learning process. But when you start going and you start feeling and getting your groove, all of this is going to become supernatural for you. And you're going to learn, okay, I went and did this. I don't think that worked really well. So next time I'm going to wait. And if I lose my space, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to call attention to it. I'm just going to be silent for a minute, regroup, and keep going. Remember, silence also is your friend. Silence is not something that you should be afraid of. And actually, sometimes silence can be like the biggest dramatic. And people are like, wait a minute, what are they saying? Because silence can speak louder sometimes. But I wouldn't say be silent for 30 minutes.
Yeah, there's a difference there. You're not a monk.
You're not, no, we're not going to have a gong that goes off. But like I say, I can help you, and I tell my kids whenever I'm teaching, because I'm also a college professor, and whenever I'm teaching my clients, the kids I work with in the college setting, what works for me might not work for you, but the principles are the same. Understand that you belong where you are. Understand that when you are going and speaking and you're being asked to speak, it's not a punishment. But if you need to alleviate some of your fear and anxiety, because remember, fear and anxiety is not bad. That's an instinct. That's your fight or flight. Ask questions. It's okay to do that. Where are you going? If it's somewhere in the building you work in, that room, okay, go to that room and really stand there and see what it feels like to be either in front of the audience, like the chairs or whatnot. When you're practicing, definitely practice. I always like to tell people, practice with eyes. And it sounds weird, but practice with eyes looking at you, whether it's your dog, your cat, your family, because when you start practicing with eyes in front of you, there's movement, right? And you can kind of feel that. That's why sometimes clients for you coming in, speaking on video is hard because they're like, I don't see an audience. So when you're really new to speaking, having an audience is super easy because it helps you read a room. When you start getting on camera, people get nervous. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't see reactions. I don't know if that was funny or not, right? So just practice with eyes on you so you can see how reactions are. And if you present and there are things that didn't go right, don't fixate on it. Say, okay, that's gone. We're done. Next time, I'm going to try this. So you'll have faith in your voice, but remember, you belong there. You have a genius zone. We want to hear from you. And God, how much would it, suck if we don't? We might miss out on something.
Absolutely.
We might have like the cure for world hunger, and all of a sudden you won't talk. So come on now. But the biggest thing I want you to remember is you have authentic authority. Be humble. Don't ever talk above people. Talk with them. And if you start feeling like you're losing track, take a minute and breathe and understand that it's okay. And the more human you can be, the better off it's going to be. And it's more human for you, right? So what works for you might not work for me, but, be your authentic person. Authentic's a huge word right now, so I'm really, excited to use that.
I like overusing the word organic.
Organic. Yeah, that's another big one, isn't it?
It's very overused, but I enjoy overusing it.
There's a lot of buzzwords that, but
it's like gourmet. It really doesn't mean anything.
We're going to make it sound amazing.
Yes.
But also remember to, and I can't harp enough on silence, because when you start getting super nervous and you feel like you've lost your place, again, don't call attention to it. But also don't feel like you have to have the filler words in it. Like the ums, the ahs, you knows, I don't know. Why? When you start feeling those filler words coming in, go back to silence. Regroup, breathe, and collect yourself. A lot of times, too, you're not going to be speaking an hour to 2 hours most of the time. An average speech is what? 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, realize you're not going to be on there for 2 hours. If you are, there's ways to prepare for that. But at the same time, too, most of the time, too, you're presenting as a group, so you won't be taking everything. But understand that who cares if you mess up? We're not going to know. And you belong there. You are super intelligent. I always want to say that. You are super intelligent. Have faith in yourself. Again, I started off when we were talking, we self-sabotage ourselves so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to just stop. Realize that you belong there. You have a message. We want to hear it. So it's not about you. It's about the audience. Breathe. Silence is your friend. Practice. Know your space. And understand that no matter what you do, you have that authentic authority. And you've got that ability to talk to people because you have no idea who's listening. You have no idea who's listening. And just be confident that in you are yourself, and no one can take that away. So when you start looking at speech, it's really more looking at you as a person and realizing you belong there. And then that message is, that message is secondary, to be honest with you. Like, when you are confident in what you're saying, it just kind of goes. And I think the best thing I can end us with is I love quoting people, because quoting people sometimes who've been there, it just is amazing. But Audrey Hepburn once said, "How can anything be impossible when the word itself says I'm possible?" You are definitely possible. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
I hope it helps,
So I hope everyone got something out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks.